No, this is not clickbait, although I wish it was. It's an article from Business Insider, which talks about something very interesting. Now, if you're familiar with how certain tech companies or even certain stores operate, it is a hellish place to be an employee at those places. And obviously, a lot of employees would want to unionize in order to demand better working conditions or demand better pay. But of course, the companies wouldn't want that. So what they do is they use technology in order to try and prevent unions from forming. And one of these technologies uses an algorithm which has different scores based on several metrics, including racial diversity, employee loyalty, tip line calls, and violations recorded by the occupational safety. So they will use this algorithm, which then tells them which store is more likely to unionize versus others. So they can start moving employees around or firing certain problematic employees before it turns into a union and the workers can have some power against the company. I've been saying on this channel for a long while that the current day far left ideology is controlled opposition by big corporations pretty much. Because if you think about it, it never makes sense. Why would social justice, an ideology that is meant to fight against the 1%, is constantly being promoted by the 1%? You look at all these multi-billion-dollar corporations, and they're all in favor of diversity, of transgender bathrooms, of LGBT issues. I mean, when you look at it, some of these companies even pay between $150,000 to $200,000 a year for a diversity officer which does nothing but spread social justice within the ranks of the company. And you look at all these corporations, especially the ones from the entertainment industry, from the IT companies, they all support the Democrats and they're on board with all the far leftist policies. And you just have to wonder, since when is the far left becoming the ideology of the rich? An ideology that, again, is supposed to take it to the rich, an ideology that's supposed to fight the wealthy, is being used by the wealthy. And it doesn't make sense unless it's controlled ideology. That was my thoughts, and apparently now I even have certain arguments, right? Why would diversity be used in order to fight people unionizing? So when you talk about diversity, you don't really talk about just having the different skin colors. Like it's not enough to have a company that happens to hire black people and white people and Asians. Like, no, that's not it. Diversity, when it's being said like this, is an ideology. And the ideology is that the diversity officer is going to walk up to a person that's black and tell them, look, you're not an individual. You're part of this black community. You're part of, you're connected. You're connected like the Borg to the black community. And all the injustices, all the barriers in your life, the reasons you don't become the CEO yet, is because of injustices that have been done to you by white people. And then they go to the white person and they say, you white person, all right? Even if you haven't done anything, you probably think about doing it. You're a piece of shit. You're a racist. You're a vile scum. You're a shitbag. And you need to dedicate the next, every single minute of your life from now on to helping people that are less privileged than you. What this does is it causes animosity. This ideology, it pits people together based on their color of their skin. So it's less likely now that these people are going to unionize together and work together against the company. In fact, it's why I have heard from far left politicians saying that the Pledge of Allegiance in the United States is racist, or the fact that they are attacking Thanksgiving. Like, these people are doing it on purpose. When you look at America, the way it was created, it got different people from different parts of Europe, people that had a history of strife and historical grievances to one another. Like, Europe has had many wars. Like, people actually killed each other 2 times, like World War I, World War II, and many others, right? But you get people from different parts of Europe, you get them into a new land, And it's like, all right, everyone is going to speak English now. Like they decided on one language so people can understand each other. So you don't have the situation where some people are at a disadvantage because they do not know the law of the land, or they do not know how to seek help from the authorities or from the police. No, you got the Italian, you got the German, you got everyone to speak English, to speak the same language. Like they made an effort in order to integrate. And then is the Pledge of Allegiance. It's like it doesn't matter where you came from, whether you came from Germany, whether you came from the United Kingdom, whether you came from France, you are now an American. It doesn't matter. Like it's important to understand your roots, and it's fine if you still hold some traditions, but if it comes between your traditions and what the American country needs of you, the American country comes first. And that was like the Pledge of Allegiance. And by the way, the reason they say one nation under God, that's to piss off communists. I'm not even kidding. Like literally, that's why they said they added under God at the Pledge of Allegiance in order to fight communists during the Cold War. Because communists were godless. They still are. So Thanksgiving is the same thing. Like they looked, I think it was, I might be wrong, so I don't want to, but we'll find Abraham Lincoln, I think it was. He looked for a celebration that united the Americans and the natives, so that everyone in America could celebrate it, and that's why they picked Thanksgiving. Like, these are ideologies. Like, here's what I think, okay? This is what I legitimately think about the world. You are going to have frictions in any society. Like, you can have frictions based on class. The rich versus the poor. The aristocrats versus the peasants. You can have frictions based on gender. You know, men versus women. You can have frictions based on ethnicity. The Italians versus the English. You can have frictions based on race. And then you can have different ideologies. Ideologies that are attempting to unite people together. Like the Pledge of Allegiance. Like learning one language. Like celebrating Thanksgiving. Like, these are ideologies that are supposed to get people to ignore their differences and try to find a common denominator. And then you have ideologies that try to break people apart, that try to separate people based on gender, based on race, based on ethnicities. And the smoke and mirror is that the ideologies that actually separate nowadays are considered to be the ideologies of tolerance and unity. When obviously it's not, and it's used by multi-billion-dollar corporations in order to create friction, in order to get people to hate each other so that they do not unionize. In fact, I'm listening to a channel on YouTube called Big Herc. Now, Big Herc is this black individual which served time in the Californian prison, and he talks about how things are in the prison. And to call that things are racist would be an understatement. Like, for example, if they were to find out that you're spending time with a member outside of your ethnicity or race, they will shank you. Like, is that bad? Okay, now, apparently the system is designed to be this way, because if all the convicts, if all the prisoners would stop having differences among each other and start working together, they would outnumber the guards. And in fact, like, there are stories where on his channel where he says that the moment people are like the moment you have people working together, and let's say, you know, that there's no more strife and friction, the guards start adding, like, they start transferring a certain shot caller from a rival gang. They start transferring him to the prison in order to get control of his guys and start the frictions going back up again. Or they'll bring like a bus of child molesters into that prison so that, you know, the inmates can stop focusing on working against the guards and work against it's really very interesting. Or the ideology of divide and conquer, which is actually being sold to the public as the ideology to fight against the rich and the powerful. Like, if you're a person that's into the far left and you're actually thinking you're fighting against the man, ask yourself, why is the man funding these ideologies? Like, if you look at feminism, for example, and they say, like, if you read bell hooks and you read feminist literature, they literally say it's not about choice. Like, a woman that is choosing, like, her choice is to be a housewife, that is oppressive, and they find it as a problem. They find it a problem when a woman chooses to fit the gender role of a woman. And you think about it, it's like, okay, so a woman that wants to stay at home and cook for her husband and raise the kids is being oppressed. But a woman working at McDonald's 12 hours a day, that's being liberated, right? Like a woman crunching the numbers or working at an Amazon warehouse for 12 hours or picking asparagus in Germany for 14 hours, that's liberation, right? Like that is... but you find out that these ideologies, they're being pushed because the perfect employee today is the type of employee that is divorced and he still has kids. So that he doesn't have a nagging wife at home that asks him, like, why do you spend extra hours at work? Why can't you tell your boss you're paid 8 hours, you work 8 hours, right? So he doesn't feel like he's got obligations at home, but he still needs to work hard in order to provide for the child support. And when he gets home, he's not really free. It's not free time. He still has to check his email and try to talk with clients and try to still do his job even from home. Like that is the perfect employee. And how do you get it? Well, you preach feminism to him. You preach the ideology, or to his wife, right? Which is also at work. And you constantly tell the wife, it's like the reason you're oppressed is because men. Yes, all men are rapists. All men are evil. Blah, 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 blah. And it makes sense when you think about it. Like, think about it this way, right? When you look at feminism, why is it that it's only wealthy companies that are pushing money into feminism? You don't see the average Joe give money to feminism, or the average Jane, for that matter. Because normal people do not like an ideology that says nonsense like, yes, all men are rapists, or all consensual sex is actually rape, and all penetrative sex is... Like all the nonsense that feminists would say, hashtag yes, all men, all that bullshit. No one gives money to that. And when you look like, who gives money to that? Well, it's multi-billion-dollar corporations, especially IT companies. IT companies in Hollywood, and I have a feeling that Hollywood does it because they have a chip on their shoulder. Like deep inside, they know that there's more than one Harvey Weinstein in there. And they kind of feel, you know, like I kind of get it. Like a woman like Hermione. You know, like I get why she would go for he for she, because when you're on Harvey Weinstein casting couch, maybe you do think that all the men are like that, and maybe you do think that that is the normal, because all the other women that you're surrounding yourself with, they're telling you similar stories. So they're trapped in this, you know, universe where, yes, all men do act like that. That all men might be acting like Harvey Weinstein. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me why an actress would advocate for feminism. So yeah, you know, like this is very interesting. I'll put this article into the source material, and you're going to notice that the press probably won't cover it. Very interesting, isn't it? Like you thought this would be the talk of the century, and what I want you to know is, like, diversity is not about hiring people of different skin colors, right? No, it's the ideology that the diversity officer is pushing. That's what you need to get. Because I know cases, like, first of all, diversity officers, studies found that they do not increase diversity. And secondly, I am 100% sure that if they have to choose between a black conservative person and a white progressive person, they will choose the white progressive all the time, because the black conservative is going to ruin the narrative that they're trying to set at the office. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.